Quilting friends, this garden romance quilt is super fun and really easy to make. It only features two basic blocks, but I'll walk you through both of them. Are you ready? Let's get started. Well, welcome back everybody to So Well. I am your host, Rob Appell, presented here by Stitchin Heaven on YouTube, and I'm very excited to see all of you out there on the other side of the camera for yet another wonderful quilting tutorial. Like I said, I will walk you through all of the steps of this awesome project. Now, this project is kind of fun. It's called the Garden Romance Quilt, and we do have a kit available for you here at Stitchin Heaven, but it's a combination of a couple of wonderful items. So the fabric that you see, this is the Secret Garden fabric by Windham Fabrics. So the whole line is from Windham, Secret Garden, but a long time ago, our wonderful fearless leader, Deb Luttrell, created this great pattern called Romancing the Stone. And so what we've done is we've restylized Romancing the Stone pattern using the Secret Garden fabric line to create for you today the Garden Romance Quilt kit, the tutorial and all of that. And it's really beautiful in kind of soft purples and greens. I feel like, unfortunately, even some of the richness of the colors being lost a little bit in all of the studio light. And if you've heard me talk about how fabric plays on other fabrics and colors and things, it really is important. We've got a little bit more than true light going on in here today. So please don't be discouraged. The fabric is definitely not washed out, even though maybe on the background it looks a little, it's just so that I look good. You know what I'm trying to say here. At any rate, so we do have two simple blocks to do. If you look either here on the design wall or in the quilt, hopefully they are identifiable. Within, we have the half square triangle, and we also have a 4-patch unit. Let me pull one off the wall just to show you that a little bit more closely. So again, we're going to be making two half square triangle units, one of each color, the green in the background or the purple in the background. And then we're also making two 4-patch units. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in that square to make a 4-patch. And again, they're focusing on colorways. So greens and purples. If you're following along with our kit, the fabrics have been labeled to go with the pattern. If you're working from your own stash or scrappy or something, try to focus on two color families and a really light background so that you can get the benefit of the contrast of your fabrics. And then we're going to show you here in a minute, but I just want to point it out now in case you're thinking fabric choices. The big half square triangles form this really neat kind of checkerboard diamond or 4-patch on point. And then the greens come together. Here are the greens in this quilt, and they actually form the big square where they touch, and then the purples will form another big square where they touch in the lineup. So it does a lot of neat things with color and play, and let me show you how to create those block units. Okay, so following along with our pattern, let's first tackle those half square triangle units, and there's a million different ways to make them. Today we're going to do a real simple format. So I have two 6 7/8 inch squares. If you want to round up to 7, you can. You'll have more trimming, and I'm going to show you the trimming here in a second. My fabrics are right sides together with the background fabric and a dark green. This fabric stays consistent for all of the half square triangles if you're following from your own stash. And then I've drawn a diagonal line from from corner to corner. And now we're going to sew a 1/4 inch on both sides of those to create two half square triangles from these two squares. Drop that presser foot with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you're a chain piecer, a lot of folks will do one side. They'll cut all the squares open and then, cut all the squares apart and then do the other side. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just rotate per square here, especially if I'm just doing a demonstration like this. Either way, I just want a 1/4 inch on either side of that chalk line for today. Okay, and then once those two lines of stitching have been done, maybe I should show you on the other, oh golly, my thread batch is so nice you can't see on either side. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut using a ruler to protect myself. You could do this freestyle, but I don't recommend it. I'm going to cut apart the 2 half square triangles. And before I bring them over, but reminding myself I should get my iron hot, to the ironing station over here on my wool mat, I am going to use this slotted trimmer. We've been talking a lot about this tool here at So Well. We love it at Stitchin Heaven. It's a great tool for trimming down our half square triangles. And what I'm going to do is one at a time, I'm going to bring them over here, and we're trimming down to 6.5 now. That's why you could start with 6 7/8, or you definitely could have rounded up. I'm laying the dotted line here, this gray area, right on top of the thread I've created, finding my point up there to make sure I'm centered. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the slotted trimmer here to trim off the edges. And then I'm also going to use it to take off the corners, just like this, so that when I'm all done, after ironing, everything looks beautiful, no dog ears or anything. Works wonderful, right? So again, if you had made a larger square using a slotted trimmer or any other way you want to trim down to 6.5, I like to just go ahead and line up that stitch line real easy, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim. And this way I'm cutting all 4 edges of the square and the 2 dog ears as needed. And it's really that simple, folks. You're going to make equal parts and pieces of the purple and background, or the green and background, or maybe I should say color 1 and color 2. Once you get to your ironing station though, because your background is going to be your lighter fabric, take that dark fabric, hold it in the air, and then just press over onto the dark side so that your seams are laying against your darker fabrics, whether that's the green or the purple, or whatever color combos you're doing. And I'd like to hear from all of you in the comments below today. Not only I know you love these 2 block quilts, but I would like to hear what color combos are you all going to do if you're not going to get one of the kits we have available for you, or if you would like to have other color combos. Would that be something that would be great if when we did quilts like this, we offered multiple colorways? I would like to know that from all of you as well. So leave that information in the comments below. While you're there, hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already, because I know you love these videos. And now I'm going to just set aside these half square triangles while I get ready to make the 4-patch units. Now the 4-patch units are also incredibly easy to make, but I don't want you to get in a hurry, because with a project like this, having the points look nice will just lend to the pretty of the quilt, right? So the 4-patch units actually come from strips to begin with. The strips are all going to be made with a pair of matching background fabrics, and then utilizing 2 other fabrics from each fabric family. So if these are the purples, these are 2 new purples for you here. And then I have the background fabrics. And folks, I cannot guarantee that the fabrics you're looking at right now are these exact fabrics in the kit, because I stole some fabrics on my way out of the door at Stitchin Heaven so I could create this video for you. And when I got home, I hadn't checked my samples. So I added this because I think that's what I was supposed to use, but the fabric in the background may be different. And that's kind of the fun of our kits. We make sure they're beautiful and they work great and coordinate, but I don't think all of these fabrics are exactly the Secret Garden fabric from Windham. I'm probably in a lot of trouble here. Anyway, I'm trying to tell you, match up your 2 green strips. These are 3.5 inches wide with the 3.5 inches wide of your background strips. You're going to have strips for each color. They're just sewn in again. I've gone ahead and pressed them all to the dark side, because that will really help us nest our seams when we go to do our 4 patches. So then from these, what I did is I just subcut down the units into these 3.5 inch, now by, I guess they're somewhere around 7 rectangles, right? But let me show you a good trick to getting accurate cuts. Now what I like to really do is I use a ruler that's a little larger, and I always start by making sure that my first edge has been trimmed and it's a nice square edge. So in order to do that, I have actually the line on the ruler running through the seam I've created. Now I'm going to go ahead and slice just the finest little slice to clean that up. Even though I'd already been cutting from there, I've been moving that fabrics around, so things may have shifted. So I want a really clean cut. And then watch what I like to do. I'm going to lay my fabrics up on top of this Efficient Susan, the Martelli mat, right? And now nothing shifted, nothing moved. And as I slide over here to my 3.5 1/2" mark, not only am I finding the outside edge, but I still have that center line in my seam running perfectly perpendicular. And then as I make my subcuts, I'm going to cut from one series of strips at a time and one thickness. I'm not cutting multiple thicknesses. And I'm just going to move down my stack here as I go, trying not to alter the fabric too much. And then I just want to make sure I'm getting myself my 3.5" wide subcuts here. And I'll go ahead and do that through the entire strip of all of my colors so that I have everything I need to make the 4 patches. Simple enough, right? I've got these prepped out, so let's jump into those 4 patches. And I don't know that I'll even need this any longer, so let's slide this out of the way. Tidy up a bit. Slotted trimmer works great too. If you have a night job as a waiter and you want to go around and get the little crumbs off the table for your guests, slotted trimmer is a great thing to keep in your apron. Shouldn't do that. Okay, now look, so for the 4 patches, you are utilizing the same color families. These will be my greens. These will be my purples. There's no right or wrong answer to these. Just do them all the same so that when you have the orientation, it all works for you, but technically they're rotatable, right? Take these, match them up. This is why we are pressing to the dark sides. I'm going to make sure that those seams nestle in real nice so that they're going in opposite directions, not getting in the way of each other. And then as I come to the sewing machine, I really try to stitch in a format that I can see those seams. Watch this. So now you see that seam kind of coming into the camera view here. This one's pointing up so I can control where it's going. The seam on the bottom is pointing down, so it's already in our favor. Keep my finger on top of that, let it glide underneath that 1/4" foot. And so I'm just going to stitch that real pretty. And the best part about this is you can chain stitch these until the cows come home, even if you don't live in an area where there's much cattle. And you can go ahead matching up because it's just purples and purples, greens and greens, making sure you have different fabrics in each 4 patch with the same backgrounds. And then just go ahead and keep on adding those pieces, matching up that center seam, nestling them in nice. Control that seam if you can. I like to use the thread cutter on my machine or one of those little thread cutting blocks that could be nice and handy for you. And let's just press these over. If you're like my good friend Tiffany Hayes, you could be pressing these seams open if you want it on the back, but I don't really think that that's all that important because we're not going to get a bunch of bulk in this quilt. Some of us have started the conversation about, do we press our seams open? Do we press them into the dark side? There's a lot of conversation about that. And if you're a new quilter, one of the things I've learned recently, if you want to just do stitch in the ditch, you want to press your seams to one side. You don't want to press them open because it won't allow enough strength in your quilt. This is a quilt that you might want to just stitch in the ditch. So that's one thing to consider when you're choosing which direction you press your seams. Here we have the 2 4 patches created. We need to build the bigger unit, and with the bigger unit we'll also need one of our green and one of our purple, or one from each color family of our half square triangles as well. Easiest way to do this is to follow the pattern. So if I'm just going to follow the pattern here as I look, one of the things that I'm going to do is I want to point out that this is the unit. We're not matching up this. Please match up the 2 half square triangles and the 2 4 patches. And what I have learned to do is go ahead and pick the 2 fabrics. And in this one particularly, look, these 2 prints are running basically opposite from each other in the blocks. You can see that again in the quilt too. Same thing. This print here and this print are the same print in different colorways, and so they're kind of not touching. I think that helps add to that slight character when we get into the project that way. And then the other thing I can point out very easily here is with your half square triangles, when these go in, the dark or the print fabrics will point out and your background fabrics need to come to this center point, because that's what frames the 4 little squares to give you this kind of chained effect running through the whole project. Remember, I pointed out these fabrics are the same fabrics and they touch, but it's not made as a single block. It's made from 4 individual blocks coming together, and those will be your outside corners, in case you really want to pick those extra favorite fabrics for those spots as well. Construction's really easy, folks, but to keep things straight, I do encourage you now to look at it again into 2 separate color families. Let's break these apart. I've kept my purples on one side, my greens on the other, and now I'm just going to join these. And when I join these, because I have this solid background fabric, I'm going to sew it from the top looking at the seams of the 4-patch. And that's just a management situation. And you know, I'm trying to get more accurate with my quilting now that I've been deemed the sloppiest quilter at Stitchin Heaven. So anyways, let's see if I can improve this year. Not because it needs to be, just because I want to be, right? Same thing, I'm going to go ahead and flop this over while I'm here. So kind of chain piecing, but again, you've heard me say this in my other videos. I like to work a block at a time a lot of times so that I just keep from having to get the seam ripper out and change anything. This helps me keep my orientations proper. Now, as I head to the ironing surface, at this point, I'm just going to press into the half square triangle unit because there is less patchwork there, and that just makes life easier when you're not fighting with the iron against a bunch of other seams or a bunch of other fabric. So again, hold up the block you want to press into, allow that iron to set the seam, fold it on over. Real nice. As we go back now to marry in the units, just double check that you now have your background fabrics again touching to form this half square triangles on the outside, and it's just a real simple center seam. And again, by pressing the way we did, we created nestling in that center unit. This one, you're going to be looking at some 4-patch seams and some of your half square triangle seams. So just go slow and do your best to not fold any of the seams underneath while you're stitching. One of the tricks I do is I just kind of lift at it before it gets to the presser foot, make sure everything's the way I wanted it with my iron. Okay, and that's really that simple, but I do want to take a moment and press it so we can go to the design wall and we can really talk about the way that the next portions come together as the units. This is where the beauty of the quilt comes back together. And I will point out, if you're using one of our kits, the border fabrics are included in the kit. So you're going to do this size quilt. But it's such a simple and easy quilt, you really can take this project and go much larger. And the actual pattern itself, you can see all of our notes we've been marking up, right? But the actual pattern itself can be made much, much larger. We actually made a smaller version just so it would fit beautifully here on the set. So please enjoy. This one, the directions go up to 88 inches by 100 inches, yet the quilt behind me is probably only about 54 inches wide at the moment. So these are the other reasons I love 2-block quilts, is we can really play and manipulate the size of them for wherever we want to put them in our lives, gift them, that kind of thing. So now as we go to the design wall, there's a couple of things I can really easily point out. First of all is I like to identify the big half square triangles. They're easier to see. If your color tones are similar, like mine are, it's something for my eye to focus on. That's what I'm trying to say. So I first start matching up the half square triangle units in opposite color order, so they'll start to form this checkerboard diamond on point that you see here. Of course, working in rows, you'll see one on this kind of upper version, and then the next one will happen down here as I bring this in. And just to show you all again, now that I've brought this in and matching up these half square triangles, the 4-patch units are the same fabrics touching. Remember, I told you that would happen. There they are, and here they are again. So if I was designing this quilt, picking my fabrics, my 2 favorite fabrics are going to go here. They're the biggest sections. My next favorite fabrics go here because they're the medium-sized sections, and my least favorite fabrics are the small little colors. The small little coordinates will probably end up in these middle parts here and here because they don't have as much impact in the quilt, but those colors or those small prints will help coordinate together. And again, I really like a kind of a neutral background because one, it allows the rest of the colors of the fabrics to come together. But secondly, once we get into our machine quilting, it really lends for a place for the quilting to pop. You may notice it's harder to see the quilt stitching here in the blocks. It's easier to see it in the background quilting. Again, sharp edge blocks, diagonals, so a nice soft easy swirl, almost like a paisley in this one. You can see it though standing out much better here, and there's a little flower and everything that just softens it up and brings in the theme of the beautiful Secret Garden fabric by Windham. So I really hope that you were able to enjoy this tutorial and learn a bit. I hope I didn't get in trouble by using some of the wrong fabrics in some of the spots. Like I said, I stole the fabrics on the way out the door, but you can definitely get yourself a perfectly proportional and positioned kit with all the right pieces in it. And I guess I should stop just stealing stuff when I leave the studio or leave Stitchin Heaven, but I have so much fun out there and I really love working with all of you. So please make sure that you are subscribed, make sure that you like this video, share it with your friends if you're enjoying the content. Again, in the comments below, let me know what color combinations you're going to use or you would like us to help you provide in kits and things like that. And again, we love seeing you out there. We'll be back real soon with another fabulous tutorial. And until then, my friends, please stay well. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. It really helps support our channel. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Hit the little button to be notified every time we go live or do a new video for all of you. And here's one from the past I think you'll really enjoy.